The lighting's not great, the background's not great, but it's what we have to work with, so let's get into it. Hi guys, I'm Amy. Welcome back to my channel. I have a book haul for all of you today. I've just gotten back from a wonderful weekend in Disney with my husband and friends, and I'm ready to get back into the swing of booktube and making a bit of a routine. As many of you have noticed, I am in a new background yet again. This is our little nest that my husband and I will be staying in while our house is being built. It is actually my grandparents' motorhome that they have kindly lent it to us for the summer. So, like I said, welcome to my nest and my very likely new filming background, which is completely not exciting. But I have a book haul for all of you. I have a huge stack of books here, so let's get into this. I'm going to try and go quickly, but we all know how well that works sometimes. But the first 4 books that I have here are mystery books that I don't read very often, but when I was younger, I read these books all the time. I just found them really entertaining and fun and easy reads, and those are the Cat Who books by Lillian Jackson Braun. These are detective mystery books, which are, the detective is Jim Quillerin, and then his 2 cats, Coco and Yum Yum, and they are Siamese cats, and they're just a lot of fun. So it's The Cat Who Ate the Danish Modern, The Cat Who Went Bananas, The Cat Who Talked to Ghosts, and lastly, The Cat Who Went Underground. This is a giant series, and I don't read them in order, but I find them fun nonetheless. Another quick, easy read is a trashy romance novel I located at my local library sales section, and that is Lisa Kleypas's Cold-Hearted Rake. A classic. They hate each other in the beginning, but there's undeniable attraction and tension, etc., etc., etc. We'll give Lisa Kleypas a shot. I've tried a book by her in the past and didn't get on board, but it was insta-love, which I am not about, so that was no fault of hers, so hopefully that won't be the case in this one and I will actually enjoy it. I also have 4 Book of the Month Club books to share with you all. I have recently signed up again and went a little bit ham on picking books. My newest edition, I guess you could say, is Catherine Center's How to Walk Away. This is a contemporary romance novel that I'm really excited about. It's about a woman whose life basically falls apart, I believe, on what's supposed to be her wedding day, and there is an accident, and then she develops feelings for her physical therapist. So I've heard good things about it. I really love the cover. Again, fingers crossed it'll be a good one. I also purchased Circe by Madeline Miller. This book is everywhere on BookTube right now. It's the retelling of the Circe myth. Heard really, really good things. I did recently watch Matthew Sciarappa's review of this. I will link it down below. It's really good, and he has a little bit different of an opinion about it, but I enjoyed his review nonetheless. The next one is Lenny Zumas's Red Clocks. This is, again, another BookTube darling that has to do with this present-day society, which is essentially the United States. I believe the book takes place in Oregon, but abortion is illegal, and there's a lot of other different laws regarding fertility and who gets to be a parent, etc., etc. And I have been meaning to get around to this forever, as I do have an art copy that I still have not gotten to, which I am not proud of. And the last Book of the Month book that I decided to get is a book that I read from the library and absolutely loved, was a 5-star read for me, is Chemistry by Weiki Wang. This is a wonderful book about a young woman who is questioning everything about her life and looking back at her past as a Chinese immigrant, not really feeling Chinese, but neither feeling American. And if you haven't read it, you should. It's super short, it's super quick, also has wonderful wry humor in it that I promise, it is worth your time, guys. It's worth your time. The next 2 books that I have to share with you are books that are mentioned in Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love's newest nonfiction book, which is Big Magic. I've, like I said, read that recently and really enjoyed it, and she talks about several different books in that nonfiction book. The first one is State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. They had a bit of a collaboration on this novel, I guess you could say, and if you haven't read Big Magic, you should, and hear all about the story that has to do with this book. But this is a book about a woman who goes to the Amazon to find her boss's lost son, I believe, or she's going to find someone or locate some money in the Amazon. And I have not read Ann Patchett before. I know she's well loved by many people, so I'm excited to give her book a shot. And the second book is a book by Elizabeth Gilbert that she discusses how she came to write this book in Big Magic, and that is The Signature of All Things, and this is a book that takes place in the 1800s. It's about a woman who has a father who's a botanist and really gets into botany and biology and plants and nature and the science aspects of life and approach to life, and then she meets a man who is very spiritual and how he changes her outlook as well. I'm so here for everything about this book, and just hearing about how she came about writing it only made me want to read it more, so I'm super excited to get to this one, hopefully very soon. And a nonfiction book that is very reminiscent, but in present day, of The Signature of All Things is Lab Girl by Hope Jaren, and this is a memoir about this woman's experience as a scientist and getting into plants and what that means, and her relationship with her lab partner, which I believe blossoms into more. I discovered this book via my page-a-day calendar that my mom got for me that lists a new book every day. When I found this at the library, I was super stoked about it. Again, one that I'm really hoping to get to very soon. The last of my mystery books, which is so weird to me that I've even said that because I almost never read mystery, is Summertime, All the Cats Are Bored by Philippe Georgette, which is translated from the French by Stephen Randall. And this is a crime detective mystery in which in a small, is it a French town? Or yes, the French Mediterranean, there are two police officers who are very bored because nothing ever happens, but then a Danish woman shows up dead on a local beach. And there is much more to this murder and crime than first appears to be the case, and it is about their personal lives and how they handle things. It's a big book, but it's just screaming these summer vibes to me, this heat, the beach, etc., etc., and I'm hoping to get to it soon because I'm in the mood for mystery, guys, and this one's speaking to me. It's speaking to me. Another library find is going to be a second chance author for me, if you want to call them that. I originally read A Girl in Hyacinth Blue by Susan Vreeland and really didn't enjoy it. I found it to be very shoddily written, to be honest with you, but her other book, The Passion of Artemisia, is about Artemisia, the post-Renaissance female painter who was one of the few female painters who found success and fame during her lifetime. And this is a fictionalized version of her life, and I love any kind of historical fiction like that. And this has a huge discussion about the fact that she does get married and wants to be a wife and a mother, but also wants to be a painter, and how she balances these things. And I'm here for that discussion, and I'm hoping that this book is better than The Girl in Hyacinth Blue. I have two Libba Bray books, the first of which is the final installment in the Gemma Doyle trilogy, The Sweet Far Thing. This is her YA supernatural fantasy, urban fantasy, if you can call it urban fantasy, even though it takes place in Victorian times in Britain, trilogy. I've only read The Great and Terrible Beauty, which is the first one, and that was years ago, but I absolutely loved it. But I saw this at my local bookstore, and I needed this book in hardcover to finish my collection off and finish the trilogy. I'm hoping to get to this one in the fall because it seems creepy and weird, and that's what I remember the first being, which I would like to reread, but for $5 I couldn't pass up the opportunity to finish up my collection. And the second Libba Bray is actually an ARC. I didn't realize this when I purchased it at my library sale, but that's fine by me, and that is the Diviners, I think it's Diviners, and this is her adult fiction that takes place in the 1920s that has to do with speakeasies and this really cryptic occult following, magic, supernatural stuff, but it just seems very steeped in what could be and seems very real, which I'm very excited about. I've heard good things about this series. It is a bit of a chunker, but regardless, I'm excited to get to it. I, having come off of my Disney trip, am super into all things fairy tale and didn't realize the timing of when I did find this book would come in so very handy because I just want to immerse myself in all things fairy tale. And I found Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, my favorite Disney movie ever and forever and always. And it's very dark and twisted, which I am also 100% on board to read because I really like things that get dark and twisted, especially when they start or come from a source that is very innocent and docile, I guess you could say, or what we most often see it represented as. And I cannot wait to read this. This is a bit of a booktube darling to some people, and a bit of a I really hated this book to some people on booktube, but I'm excited to join the club of people who have read this book because I'm stoked. From my local used bookstore, I found The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Sorry. This is a very popular book which is taught in universities and high schools and all over the place. And I've only read part of the introduction that came with this 25th anniversary edition, but I am absolutely adoring Cisneros' writing style. It's very pared down and simple, and I really, really like that writing style. It's very Hemingway, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I really, really do love. So I'm excited to get into this, and I love books that are about where people come from. This seems like a very reminiscent of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, just shorter, a different time period, and a completely different culture, but regardless, I'm very excited to read it. Another Tressie romance novel, which unfortunately I DNF'd, and we'll be having a discussion about my reading experience with this book and other romances coming very shortly, is To Wed a Wicked Prince by Jane Feather. This is my first experience with Jane Feather, and it didn't go very well, especially because I read 300 of the almost 500 pages of this book and was just like, I couldn't care less, and I put it down. That is completely unheard of with me, but like I said, you'll be hearing more about this one in another video soon. Just a couple more books here. The next book that I have is going to be a buddy read with April from Getting Hygge With It, and I cannot wait to read this, as this book was very well loved on BookTube last summer, and that is The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna Cannon. This book is about two young girls who have a neighbor go missing or was murdered, and they decide that they are going to figure out what happened. And I think it's largely a growing up story, which I absolutely adore those types of stories. I just find the commentary and what happens within them to be very pertinent and very real, which I always love when a book just really speaks to the truth of life. But this book has also been very, very highly touted by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings, and Lauren from Lauren of the Books, and Lauren from Reads and Daydreams, and it's said to be a perfect summer read, and it is getting very hot where I'm from. I think we're going to have a very short, tiny little spring, and then get into the full-on 95-degree weather, which will be perfect for when we read this. Speaking of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, I decided to add yet another edition of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith to my collection. When I truly love a book, I find myself collecting all editions of the book that I can find, and found this at the library sale. It's a bit beat up and well loved, but you also know that I love that, and it doesn't deter me from a book whatsoever, and so I picked this one up as well. The last book that I have for you guys, are you kidding me? We finally gotten here. This is a giant stack of books. I had no idea how many books I had bought recently until I put them all in front of me. It's a bit frightening, actually. But is The Art of Hearing Heartbeats by Jan Philip Senker, and this is a book about a young woman whose father goes missing, and when he goes missing, this letter from this woman named Mimi from Burma surfaces in their house, in which she learns that her father had this complete life before her mother and herself that is just seemed very opposing to the life that he had led with them. And so she goes to Burma to find out what happens and to learn about her father and to find any clues that she can. And this just seems like a very good book about self-discovery and who you are and who your parents are and who they may be or may not be. And I love that discussion in a book, and I've been really, really interested in reading these types, and this cover is just really, really pretty. I originally saw this book at a used bookstore on the west side when I was visiting my in-laws, sister-in-law and brother-in-law, but didn't pick it up, but then found it for $1 at the library sale, so obviously it was meant to be. There you have it, guys. There is a very quick, tad bit winded me describing to you the new books that I've acquired that really have no place to go because all of my books are in storage, and as are my bookshelves, so I will just have to beg my parents for a place to put them in the meantime. Good thing they love me. But if you guys have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts and what your reading experiences were. If you want to read some of these books, again, let me know. But I believe that is all of them, so I will see you in my next video. Happy reading!